All right. Welcome to day 2 of my deck building theory. There's another part to this theory that you can employ with your deck building to help you build a better deck. All right, so let's get right into it. We have gives you resources. And by the way, if you haven't seen the first video, check the video before this one. I'll link it in the description below, the part 1, so that way you'll understand what I'm getting at in part 2. All right, so this is gonna be gives you resources, right? And we're gonna get, let's see, taking resources away from opponent. I'll just abbreviate that. All right. So, gives you resources, takes resources away from your opponent. Now, using the theory from the first video, that'll tell you what state your colors are in for early, mid to late game. Now, which colors give you resources? We're gonna go with purple. Purple, of course, is a color that gives you a lot of draw power, so it fills up your hand. All right. Green. Green does the exact opposite. It takes it away. All right. Then we go with red. Red completely starts taking away stuff from your opponent's board. So I'm gonna go here. All right. What deck gives you resources on your board? Well, amber fills up your board with lots and lots of characters. All right. Now we have blue. Blue gives you ink. That's its primary focus. It just fills up, gives you ink, gives you items, gives you resources. All right. So we're gonna do blue here. All right, and then this leaves steel. Steel, it puts damage on the board mostly and tries to take away from your opponent. Although steel does have a holy world, most of its practice is just issuing damage and trying to clear the board. Very similarly to red, just does it in a different way. So we'll put steel here. All right, so perfect split right down the middle. So what this means is if you have a deck that is only on one side or the other, it's typically not going to be as successful. So let's look at the best decks in the format. We have red, purple. Both, it's perfect. It's literally gives you resources, gives you draw, takes away from your opponent. So that way you're always going to have more cards than them. And of course, this is late game, this is mid game. So we cover 2 bases. Now, you have emerald steel, which is on the same side. The reason this deck works is simply because Bucky 1 takes away everything from your opponent's hand. So it pretty much eliminates that, but Diablo compensates. If they get out Diablo, they're gonna draw so much that it almost feels like they're purple because they're gonna rely off of other decks to give them cards. That's kind of why if the deck loses their Diablo, it usually doesn't win as much because they don't have ability to recover their hand or their resources. Once they lose their board, they lose everything. Let's look at red, blue, perfect. Takes away, gives resources. Also late game, but not in early game, but first video we go over how and why they have to compensate for that. Let's look at amber steel. Perfect. This is going to give them characters and also allows them to sing their songs for a lot less. And then steel is going to take away from their opponent. Now, my favorite color combination is blue purple. The reason this does not work is blue only has Hades to remove right now. Purple has like one card to remove, and then when you do remove, you allow your opponent, it's the Yzma, allows your opponent to draw 2 cards. So essentially, if you went against anything Amber or anything really that's early game, they're just gonna spam the board, and it's almost like you're playing solitaire because you can't interact with your opponent's board that much. So that's kind of the reason why these color combinations have trouble working together. Same with Ruby Steel. Ruby Steel, it has a lot of removal, but you're not gonna draw any cards, really. You're not gonna be able to re-up your board if it gets blown out. There's literally no recovery play. Same for, like, you don't see red-green work, you don't see red steel work as much, and you don't see any of these colors work. The only exception to this, of course, is Emerald and Steel, due to the fact that Bucky and Diablo are just such powerful cards. But whenever you build a deck, if you get the right timing of your deck, know where your strengths are, know where your weaknesses are, compensate for whatever that weakness is for early, mid, late game. And then you combine it with, okay, my deck needs to draw more cards, or it needs to take away cards from your opponent. You just figure out what that is and you fill in the gaps with those cards. So let's say if 30 of or 40 of your cards are exactly what the deck strategy is supposed to be. So let's say I want to go blue, purple, right? I know I'm going to draw a lot of cards, and I'm going to have a lot of ink. I'm going to have enough resources. I need to put literally as many cards as I can put in that deck to remove resources from my opponent. So like maxing out on Hades, playing Yzma, even though it draws your opponent cards, you need as much removal as possible. With this theory, you should be able to craft your decks better and make them more consistent. So, like I said, if you guys like more videos like this, please subscribe below. Yeah, this was fun. I'm definitely gonna do this some more. Thank you. Have a good day.